Hello and welcome to the Better Business Podcast. My name is Alexei, and today we have a very special guest, Karl Schwantes. Hey, Karl.
Hey, Alexei, nice to be here.
Karl runs a number of businesses, but I won't take it away from him. Karl, tell us about your businesses and tell us about the story behind your business. I think that's really cool and very important for our listeners to hear.
Yeah, well, Alexei, both you and I are here based in Brisbane, Australia, and most people that have lived in Brisbane for a period of time know me probably better as the diamond guy. We've got a family business called Xennon Diamonds. Been going now for 47 years. My parents started it, and I've been doing it now for over 27 years. And pretty much everything was going pretty swimmingly until this little funny thing that came along called COVID. And that wasn't great for business, especially when the government comes out and bans weddings. We lost 97% of our revenue overnight, pretty much for about 8 weeks. But the really terrible part about it in that time was we just didn't know how long it was going to go for. You know, there was no sort of end date. This is a 2-week thing. You know, the end just kept getting pushed out. And so I really needed to find some clients fast. I needed to find out, well, where were our clients coming from? Because that was always going to be the place that I was going to go and find more clients, right? And what I found really shocked me. I really hadn't spent that much time really diving in deep into the numbers. I'm more of a creative person, so diving into numbers is not usually my strong suit, but at this time it was. And what I'd found was that in the previous year, we'd had 173 sales that had come from our Google reviews. I thought, isn't that interesting? I hadn't spent a single dollar to generate those sales or leads. And then as I started to go more into it, I found that, God, I really love selling to clients that came in because of a Google review. You know, they generally made a decision faster, they spent more, and they didn't care about the competition. And I thought, well, wouldn't that be a really valuable thing for people to learn? And I started putting it out there into Facebook and you know, my first program that I ran, you know, we put 25 people into the program. And they already started to see not only the value in you know, giving up their free time, but also in paying for the, I guess, the secret frameworks that I'd created at Xennon.
Excellent. Well, look, I think the whole online reputation is a huge subject. So we're going to look at it more from the digital agency standpoint, more from the Google side of things, because I think that's what you really have identified and done really, really well. So the business that you run now is also called 5-Star Reviews. Is that the name, or is that in sort of transition at the moment?
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, funny that, because, you know, in the beginning, like, you know, when you start a business as an entrepreneur, you go like, what does the business do? 5-star reviews. All right, well, that's what we'll call it, you know, because people can really resonate. And I think as time has gone on, I've realized that what I do is so much more than helping people get 5-star Google reviews. It's like, you know, that's kind of like the very tip of the iceberg. And yes, it's an easy metric that people can identify, but below that kind of waterline of reviews, there's a lot more things that sit in and around the client experience. You know, how well you're perceived, like what your reputation is, you know, in regards to, are you winning awards? You know, where does your business come from? Do you have, like, you know, when you talk with accountants, they sometimes talk about, you know, multiple flows of income, but do you have multiple flows of leads? And this whole thing about building reputation is like, basically, how can you win clients from your reviews and your reputation? And it's about investing in your reputation. For me at Xennon, every dollar I spend on our reputation in marketing generates about $326 back.
Wow.
So it's a really good return. And like I said, it actually, for me, is so much more rewarding when I get a client that comes in because of our reputation. It's almost like that overlap between attraction and conversion means that I end up getting a pre-converted client, which makes it, for me, as a diamond consultant, makes it so much more fun.
Well, let's dig that a little bit deeper. So overall, the online reputation, and there are obviously some misconceptions about it. It's not just about the positive reviews. It's also about the negative reviews and how the business comes up in Google. I always get fascinated with businesses that have been around for 25 years, and there's only like 4 reviews that actually come up. That's really quite interesting. So what are some of the common misconceptions that you know, people have about the online management, and how do you address them?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a common phrase that's used in this space, which is reputation management, which you know, I don't think sounds like a very sexy name at all. But you know, I always see it as reputation building. So you want to build your online reputation, and sometimes reputation protection. You want to protect yourself, because these days, like, whether you believe it or not, like, clients absolutely know how to use Google reviews or whatever reviews. They can either help your business or they can harm your business if you don't do the right thing. And look, we're all humans, and we don't always get it right every single time. And sometimes we drop the ball. But for me, what you do when things are not going right sometimes says more about your business than what you do when everything's going right. So when someone gets a 1-star review, and it's all about protecting them and their business, because the reviews are there forever. You can't delete them. You can petition to get them removed, but that's very difficult to do. And it's all about, like, how do you approach that bad review from a position of empathy, acknowledgement, and remedy. And when you come at it from that place, I myself have turned, for my clients, a 1-star review into a 5-star review many times over using that framework. And half of what you're doing is responding to the client that left that bad review, and the other half is responding to everybody else that's reading your response to that 1-star review. Because believe it or not, people will read on average somewhere between 5 and 7 reviews, and they read the responses to your reviews, which is why Google actually incentivizes businesses that respond to all reviews. Whereas some businesses are only responding to the good ones. You actually have to respond to all reviews, good and bad, and really do it in a timely manner. Some of the big no-nos when responding to a 1-star review: don't blame, make excuses. My number one bugbear in a 1-star review response is, we've checked our records and can find no record of your name in our system. Now, I don't know about you, Alexei, but I've got more than one email, and particularly one email that I use generally for spammy kind of stuff. I guarantee you that when a client's leaving a bad review, they're very rarely using their own personal name. So you saying we can't see you in our system really is irrelevant. It's really about, how can I connect with this person so that they don't feel invisible, so that they feel heard, seen, and significant, and get to a point where we want to make it right by that client.
Mate, you're a step ahead of me. I was going to ask you about the negative reviews, but you're spot on. I mean, obviously you do this every single day, which is why we're having this conversation in the first place. But I get a lot of customers approaching us and saying, look, we've got a few negative reviews. And usually there's a story behind the whole thing. Like, there's a real customer experience that sort of relates to the whole thing. And I often find that people get quite emotional about the whole thing. So what sort of advice would you give these people? Is there a bit of a process that you would follow in order to take action with those? Because simply telling someone, hey, you got to respond to this review and show customer service sometimes doesn't sink in, because there's obviously more at stake.
So the first thing I always say when someone gets a bad review is take a deep breath, walk away from the computer. Do not respond in the moment, because that's the worst thing, because the emotions are running high. The second thing is, you kind of look at it as free business advice at some level. There's somebody here that's telling you that some element of your business process, your systems and everything wasn't as remarkable as the client would have liked. And so at that point, you want to go upstream and kind of go, well, how do I fix that problem? Is there something in my communication systems? Do we have really fine-tuned, SMS capability to be able to let the client know that there's going to be a delay, if that was to happen? Are we empowering the team to be able to deliver, a 5-star service and 5-star experience within boundaries? One of the classic ways that I used to do this at Xennon was I would allow the team to spend $100, no questions asked, on whatever they wanted to do if they saw a problem with a client. Okay, so rather than wait till it gets to that point where they're going to leave you a bad review, something happened, the job was a bit late, the client's having to pay for parking, no problem, here sir, we'll comp your parking. Things like that, buying them a coffee or something while they can wait. There are lots of little things that clients will often give you more than at least one opportunity to kind of respond in a positive way. And if you don't do that, that's usually when they'll go on and give you a bad review.
Now, your Xennon Diamonds business has got over 1,000 reviews. And look, I have to ask this. You've obviously got transactional businesses like coffee shops and so on, where they've got plenty of opportunities every single day. And then you've got those exclusive businesses like yours, where you really get to see, let's say 12 customers a day that you really get to interact with. I mean, what's the secret, and how would you basically go about getting more reviews out of people where the situation is very much contained? There's not a lot of opportunities, like real estate agents, for example, something like that.
no matter what business you're in, and I often say that, I don't believe that there's such a thing as a B2B or a B2C business. I think we're all H to H, which is human to human. And there are a couple of key things that every business should do with a client to end up with an amazing Google portfolio, which is really all about turning your client testimonials into SEO-powered Google reviews. And I know you're super big on the SEO side of things, but you need to really have a remarkable product or service. Simply, like if you don't have that one ticked, nothing's gonna work. No matter how nicely you ask or how often you ask, it's not gonna work. You have to create a remarkable experience around that product or service. Simply giving the client what they paid for isn't enough anymore. People want more. Like, I mean, if I come in and pay you for a bottle of milk and you give me a bottle of milk, that's just a transaction. That's nothing amazing. Then you need to look to incorporate surprise and delight elements. Surprise and delight are these little things that are little touch points along the customer journey that give the client that experience of something that they probably didn't think that they could ask for. The next thing is you need to incorporate persuasive priming. If I just say to you right out of the blue, hey, Alexei, can I have a review? Oftentimes you'll be either in the middle of something or it's not right, and you go, where did that come from? Okay. You need to look at having powerful scripts. There's a reason why Tom Cruise can't turn up to Mission Impossible 10 or whatever number they're up to and say, Mr. Director, that's okay. I'm Tom Cruise. I've got this. I've done a whole stack of these. I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to read the script. I'm just going to wing it. No, he has to follow a script. And the reason behind that is we know that if you fine tune a script for how to do something, it's repeatable, it's transferable, and it delivers the same result every single time. So having powerful scripts. The next thing is you got to use innovative tools. Okay, so many times I see people sending Google review requests by email. Absolute worst way to do it. Has the lowest conversion rate. The average person probably has 20 to 25% open rate over 2 to 3 days. So worst way to do it. But there are some really cool tools that you can use that increase it. Now, I always say best way is always in person as a one-to-one. And then the last one is often, it sounds really simple, but it's often very poorly done, which is all about the happiness window. And the happiness window is just finding that perfect time to ask for a Google review. So for us, no surprises in the diamond game. The whole open the ring box moment is usually a great time to ask. The client's like, oh, that's amazing. I love it. Great. Hey, I'd love it if you could share that on Google. So all of these things you really have to have, and every business can do it, from a coffee shop to a digital marketing agency to no matter what. It's just a simple process of following those steps. All too often, though, sometimes business owners or operators wait almost for a client to volunteer to give them a Google review. And, like you said, you got all these coffee shops that have, so many thousands of interactions. One of my clients that I'm just about to start working with, she's a restaurant. And I asked her, how many covers do you do a week? She said about 400. And so I looked at her Google portfolio and she was getting about 2 to 3 a week out of 400. And I'm looking around and watching the wait staff go around to each table. There's a table over there with 6 people. There's a table over there with 4 people. And at no point in that process did any of the team ask the ladies or the couples that were on the table to share their experience on Google. So sometimes it's as simple as that, if you've got all of those other amazing things, jam-packed. But I always kind of look at it like experience silos. And I go, well, what does the welcome experience look like? And how can I make that really remarkable? What is the first interaction moment look like? What does the first time they're using the product look like? What happens after they've used the product? And each one of those, if you can make those a little bit more remarkable, you'd be surprised at just how easy it is to get an amazing Google review. And unfortunately, most people think that all Google reviews are created equally. And in truth, there's about 5 different levels of a Google review. And most business owners are hitting the bottom 2. The bottom level is just a 5-star review. Okay, lovely to have, good for the metric counter, but totally useless from an SEO point of view. The next level up from that has, a one-liner. Hey, I went and saw Jones. He was awesome. Again, really not great. The third level up is a detailed description, where it talks about the experience and what your services was like. The next level up from that has all of those things plus keywords. So what are the things that you want people to type into Google to find you? And then the top level is everything below that with photos. Everyone knows Google loves photos. People love connecting with a photo. You see a photo in a review and immediately there's a stronger sense of attachment to that review and that credibility element.
Yeah. Well, look, there's obviously a lot of tips just within what you've described. I mean, personally, as a digital marketing agency owner, I recommend our clients get reviews specific to the services. Hey, I've come to this place and had X, Y, Z. I mean, if you're able to go to that degree. But I guess another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that you can also get reviews not only for the transactions, but also for interactions as well. Like, for example, if you're on an event or so, you can ask people, hey, what do you think about this event? The best way to say, thanks is potentially leave us a 5-star review or whatever review you think is reasonable. So getting 30, 40 reviews is really not an issue. And I think one thing with the SEO side of things, a lot of people don't get it, but I'm going to give you a really extreme example. We've got a client that basically does injectables, like Botox and stuff. And the word Botox is a no-no when it comes to Google ads. Like, you can't have it. Even if you squeeze it into your website, you're going to get a letter from Allergan, who owns Botox, saying, hey, you can't have it, and so on. They're just really, really specific about it. But if a customer leaves, hey, I've had Botox at this place, your reviews elevate your business straight away. So it's definitely a huge tip. So just for those who are sort of trying to understand what the hell we are talking about here, because obviously we're going to have all sorts of listeners on this call. Mate, that's excellent. And look, I guess you obviously do a lot more than that. I mean, you look at the whole customer service experience, and Google Ads is just a reflection of that. But if we look at the Google Ads, you obviously you've got a course, right, that you take people through in order to improve that. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the first things that we do when I start working with a client is we get your Google business profile optimized. That's the very first step. That alone is worth 36% of your local SEO, and your Google reviews is worth about 16%, but only if they're optimized. And all too often I see so many profiles where they've just claimed their profile, maybe added in 1 or 2 things, but then put it in the bottom drawer and never to come back to it. So I think for us, always the first layer, the easiest thing to do is to show people all of the functionality, all the amazing things that you can do with the platform. And then once we've got that, and once we're understanding, this is where the reviews show up, this is what it looks like, then we can start that process of really going through the 9 business accelerators that we run people through. So all around your mindset, like, do you understand why this is important, how it could help the business, and will it be worth it? Understanding the ownership part of it. I always find that in any business, when somebody is a defender for the client journey experience and collecting of those reviews, the reviews just go through the absolute roof every single time. You miss that piece, and it's hard work. The business owner feels like they're the one always asking everybody and no one else is doing it. The third one is all about metrics. So I want people to kind of go, hey, I've earned $20,000 worth of top line revenue for my reviews. But if you're not tracking it, you'll never know. So it's really important to track and look at the metrics. The next one is all about the differentiation. Differentiation is not about, how can you be 5% better than the competition? It's like, how can you become so radically different that you become the new benchmark by which all others are judged against? So as you know, my diamond shop here in the city in Brisbane, I built a whiskey bar inside that now, principally because I like whiskey, but it also makes a wonderful experience. It's a talking point. And like when clients come in, we open the bottle and you're smelling this bottle and the next one, and all of that before we've even gotten to look at rings. That's one of our experience silos. Then the next one is all around the magical moments of truth. And this is all about the profound client impacts that you can have with your team and your clients that really kind of make the idea of going somewhere else unthinkable. Like, that's a game changer when you can get that one. Next one is all about Googleization, which is all about the scripting, the systems, and the tools to really get those super, level 5-star Google reviews. Next, we move into the team identity. How can you make being of service to your clients like your highest value without judgment? The without judgment is the really big part. It's so easy sometimes to go, that client was a pain in the butt. But in reality is, if we're always coming from a place of service, we'll always just go above and beyond for our clients. The next one is the rhythms and the routines. Like, this has to be part of your daily huddle, your weekly retrospective, monthly, your quarterly. It should almost be like a line item on your P&L, because if you focus on it, it will really drive money straight to that bottom line. And the last one is all about the multipliers. This is great for people that maybe want to sell their business in 3 to 5 years, because if you've got an asset that's attached to your business that's generating a 6-figure or 7-figure income, I guarantee you that it's worth an extra multiple. But understanding how to do that, build that, and then ultimately, it's like that great saying that a business worth selling is a business worth owning. So that's the process. We take people through from the very beginning and just walk them through that, so that usually people start within about 2 to 3 months, start seeing massive changes in their business.
Yeah. Well, mate, I'm hearing a lot of great things about people working with you, and you obviously do a lot more than just online reputation. So if someone wants to find out a little bit more about your services, or potentially, take action about the online reputation, what's the next step? How do they get in contact with you?
Well, I'm sure we'll put some notes in the show notes below, but basically what I'm offering for you that are watching this podcast is I'd love to give you a complimentary Google Business Profile audit. Well, I'll go through your profile. So all you've got to do is either email me at karl@my5starreviews.com.au. I'm sure that's going to be in the show notes. But and just tell me your business and that you saw us on this podcast with Alexei. And what I'll do is I'll do a quick business profile audit for you. I'll send that to you as a Loom video. And then if you'd love to jump on a call and talk about how can we potentially help you take your business to your next level, whether that's because you're looking to get more leads and sales, whether it's because you want to attract the right kind of team and people to your business. That's a super big one at the moment for a lot of people. Or whether you're just looking to sort of really dominate the competition in that review space and have a business that just really outranks everybody else. It's for us, it's just about being of service with our clients in our community, and we'd love to help and support you along your journey as business owners. And Lexi, I mean, I've got 2 businesses. I've lost count how many you've got. So, we know what it's like to be in the weeds. We know what it's like to be in the trenches. And I think you get to a point in your life where you just really want to support people and help them so that they don't struggle so much.
Excellent. Well, mate, thanks very much. I really appreciate you jumping on this call. And mate, always a lot of knowledge, and I love the energy. Like, you're really passionate about the subject.
I love it.
Yeah. Thanks very much, mate.
Mate, if you ever watch me in the shop with getting a Google review, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I just love it. It's great fun.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely coming to the next whiskey night, mate. Yeah, count me in.
That's good.
All right. Well, guys, thanks very much for listening. Hopefully you learned a lot. Get in contact with Karl if you're struggling with your Google reviews, or you just don't know where you're going, because a lot of people just can't really put a reading on it. And look, overall, if you're enjoying this podcast, if you're enjoying the guests, please subscribe. Make sure that you share the feedback in the comments. If you want to hit up Karl, we'll make sure we put his email up on the screen in this video as well. Thank you. Thanks, Karl.
See you, mate.